Now, as per usual, my second home is in Kappa in County Limerick. What a beautiful, beautiful countryside it is here. Lovely people, lovely farmlands, great views, and of course, a great, great man that has become famous and infamous across the country and right over all the way over in America. None other than Billy McGuire. Billy, great to be with you here today, and thank you for having me in your home. Now, Billy, we have spoken about 1155. We have spoken about the gift of Ireland by the Pope to Henry II and the enslavement of people, Irish men, women and children, that were sold off as great workers, great slaves. 6 to 7 million people, never accounted for, never spoken of. And then we come all the way up through our history of oppression by Britain and the Empire. And a lot of people have got annoyed with me over calling the 1845, 1847, 1848 famine. They said it wasn't a famine, and you corrected me as well. It was genocide.
It was genocide.
Because
it was a Holocaust, John.
It was a Holocaust, yes.
And you go back, what we're celebrating this weekend is to do something for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
And that St. Patrick's Day goes back to 1155, when that Holocaust was imposed by Pope Adrian IV and Henry II of England, and right up to Henry VIII. And all those Henrys, and Cromwell and his son-in-law Arton, they annihilated the Irish people, between 6 and 8 million people, and no accountability for it.
It's absolutely
and you're
amazing.
talking about we're talking about Ukraine today. It was worse in 1155 here. It's still in the world today. People are just annihilated.
That's actually what's happening.
And the very same. It's the very, and nobody is accountable for it.
Yes.
All I'm asking is that we can't do anything about 1155 because it's there, and the Vatican won't do it, and the Crown of England won't do it. So we're very lucky today that we have the chairman of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, John Flanagan.
John.
And
yes,
John, and we are going to take that to the courts in Europe.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about the Genesis, and you talk about all these things that happened, but what about that happened in 1155?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
that is a Holocaust.
It is.
And we can never be. Look, I'm doing the peace, reconciliation, and prosperity process since 1950, when I was anointed to do it, and keep that alive, and to keep going back to St. Patrick's Day. That's what it's about. We have 70 million Irish people worldwide, and they're entitled to know what happened to them and why they're worldwide. And the awful things, the annihilation of our people, what Britain did, to go out to those little hovels and just look, they starved the people to death, and there's no other way of saying it. And they took that food for those people, plenty of food, and there was plenty of mutton, beef, fish, poultry, vegetables. Right, you had a potato, there was a failure of the potatoes, that happened. But that shouldn't have been deflected. What about all the other food? And that food was solely to feed the Crown Forces and the Royal Navy. And I think it's time that Irish people were told the truth. And our own government, they're a free state government. We have a sovereign government. And we've quoted here many times the 1918 32 county election, when Britain called it on the 14th of December 1918. On the 28th of December, IRB Sinn Féin, that's who it was then, they won 73 seats. The Unionists won 25 seats. And there was 6 seats for Nationalists and 1 independent. That's the mandate. That's a democratically elected mandate. And that's what established the sovereignty, which John is going to read the proclamation.
Yes.
And we'll just do the sovereign constitution, and we refer to the Declaration of Independence and the address to the Free Nations. And all that about sovereignty and everything else that the whole world is shouting about. If you don't have sovereignty, you can be enslaved. And this is what corporations are doing to our people and to the world.
They're doing it to the world as we speak.
And that's what they're doing. They're going to enslave the people, and we will not tolerate that. That's what those Irish volunteers went out and fought. Since 1155, it's always been the right and welfare of the sovereign Irish people. And that's what that election was about.
Yes.
And we won it fair and straight, and it's not considered. George V wouldn't recognise it, or the British government. On the 21st of January, that was the sovereign Dáil Éireann government in the Mansion House in Dublin. And that was ratified by the sovereign Dáil Éireann government. All 32 counties, all our territory down the Irish Sea with Britain to the United States of America and Canada in the Atlantic Ocean. We can go right into America and Canada because we brought sovereignty to the United States. And you have the biggest St. Patrick's Day ever in the world on St. Patrick's Day in the United States, and they don't know what it is, and they know that Christopher Columbus came to Askeaton for all that knowledge and information, and those friars were teaching that in the friary in Askeaton.
Yes.
And Sir Nicholas Malva, he burnt down that friary because Britain didn't want anyone else to have that knowledge, latitude and longitude, or how to. And the Mappa Mundi is in. We'll give you a photograph there of that. It's in the cloisters in that friary that was.
That's
burnt
right.
down.
We saw it. Yes.
And you've seen it, and you saw us doing it.
Yes.
You saw Jerry O'Donovan doing it,
yes,
doing the measurements from Lochgar.
It's absolutely astonishing. What actually lies there in Askeaton, in the friary, is absolutely mind-boggling. Even with the imprint, the embeddedness of the Star of David.
You saw all that, and you saw the Star of David, and the 2 5-string harps that were on the Ark of the Covenant. That was all Celtic Christianity.
Yes.
And that was all about how to preserve food, salt, and how to improve crops and animals and everything else for the welfare of.
But the friars were obviously hundreds of years way ahead of their time.
And not
they were incredible people.
But Sir Nicholas Malva, he executed and hung the whole lot of them. He didn't want that knowledge going to anybody else, only to Britain.
Well, of course, it's typical of an empire attitude, and that's it. And we're actually having that today, because if we look at the Ukraine,
it's the
very same principle.
Annihilating all these people,
yes,
get rid of them. And in those days, the Crown Forces, defeat the Crown Forces and the Royal Navy, and no accountability. All we're asking for is accountability from the Crown of England and from the Pope in Rome. That's all we're asking for. That bull laudability is a fraudulent document, and we want that done. And John is here, and John is going to read our proclamation.
Just introduce me here to John. John Flanagan, is it?
John Flanagan.
Hi, John.
And he is the chairman of the Irish Republican Brotherhood.
And I'm delighted. Congratulations, and the very best of luck. And actually, you're about a year older than me, so isn't it great that John is a younger generation taking the mantle up as well? It's great. It's fantastic to see.
And it's been made very difficult for anyone to stand up.
Yes.
But anyway, that's what they achieved. What's behind you?
Correct.
That sovereign Dáil Éireann government.
That's right.
That's the 1918, and you can take a photograph. And when you're going out you can take photographs of shamrock on the ground and that to show.
Oh yeah, we have that. That is fantastic.
And we did it when it was in bloom. The green and the gold. The gold is the flower of the shamrock. That's right.
Yes.
And our tricolour flag, it's the green, white, and orange, and that's what it is.
But John, when have you taken over the mantle then?
He's taken over the mantle.
Yeah, of the IRB.
Well, on the 22nd of February, we reinstated the Supreme Council. So that's really where we're going to kickstart, read stuff from, John, to be honest with you. But maybe to start it off, do you want me to read out?
It would be beautiful if you would.
The proclamation, yeah.
Very good. And you're comfortable there, are you?
I'm absolutely fine.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay, John. In your own time.
So, Public Nahéireann, the proclamation of the Provisional Government of the Irish Republic to the people of Ireland. Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and of the dead generations from which she receives her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through her secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army, having patiently perfected her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal herself, she now seizes that moment, and supported by her exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, but relying in the first on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland, and to the unfettered control of Irish destinies, to be sovereign and indefeasible. The long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished, except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to national freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years, they have asserted it in arms. Standing on that fundamental right and again asserting it in arms in the face of the world, we hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as a sovereign, independent state, and we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to, and hereby claims, the allegiance of every Irish man and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and of all its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally, and oblivious of the differences carefully fostered by an alien government, which have divided a minority from the majority in the past. Until our arms have brought the opportune moment for the establishment of a permanent national government, representative of the whole people of Ireland and elected by the suffrages of all her men and women, the provisional government hereby constituted will administer the civil and military affairs of the Republic in trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke upon our arms, and we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity, or rapine. In this supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by the readiness of its children to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it is called.
Well done, John. That is so
And just read
heartfelt read.
The end, the signature of it.
Signed on behalf of the Provisional Government, Thomas J. Clark, Sean McDermott, P. H. Pearce, James Connolly, Thomas McDonough, Eamon Cant, and Joseph Plunkett.
Well done, Sean.
Well done.
Marvellous.
It's
And
fantastic.
they gave their
isn't it?
lives for that.
They did.
They
yes.
did.
And that you're talking about today, the Ukraine, about sovereignty. Europe, everybody's talking about sovereignty. And it is shocking. I think here we're absolute hypocrites, and the Free State government is an absolute hypocritical government. You'd think that they would recognise our sovereignty in Europe. That's our tricolour flag that's flying in
Yes,
Europe.
correct.
And out comes from that sovereign constitution, the democratically election of the 28th of December, when we became in 1919, the 21st of January 1919. And John, if you just hear for a second, look, this is the Declaration of Independence, First All Ireland, Dáil Éireann, January the 21st, 1919. Whereas the Irish people is by right a free people. And then you go, I'm going down a bit, and whereas at the threshold of a new era in history, the Irish electorate has, in the general election of December 1918, seized the first occasion to declare by an overwhelming majority its firm allegiance to the Irish Republic. Isn't that very simple?
Well, it's well
And
written.
how's it? And there, look, take a photo.
No, we have that. Yep. No, I have that on file. Yep. I'll put that in with this.
I'll show it now. Just hand you
Okay.
over
Well,
that.
the actual. Yep.
I want to show the people
Yeah. Sure.
what it is.
Yeah. No problem. No problem.
It's all right.
Okay.
It's all right. We get those again. But that's what
Wait
That's 1918 32
Wait,
county
no.
election.
Yes.
There you are. It's there in black
Oh yeah,
and
we
white
have it.
for
Yeah,
anybody.
perfect.
And look,
Yes.
the 21st of January 19, the sovereign seal of
Correct.
Dáil Éireann,
Yes.
and on the tricolour is the sovereign Republic of Éire.
Yes.
And they are denying those people what they achieved. And in Europe, that's what should be there. No, Dáil Éireann has never sat in Leinster House. Dáil Éireann sat in the Mansion House. There, that's it.
Yes.
You can see it. Look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's propaganda, lies, deception and fraud, and we don't want any part of that. We have a sovereign Dáil Éireann government by the will and wish of all the people in the 90s, and we've called it out there for you. We've shown it to you here. We can't do any more. That's facts, and
Yes.
that's where it should be. John, put that back.
I will, of course. And what I want to do is I just want to go back to John Flanagan just for a few moments as well. Because, John, you might explain to us, I have to compliment you on the heartfelt reading of the Irish Proclamation. It's beautiful. And well done, John, on that.
Very powerful document.
It was excellent.
It is. Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Definitely. John, could I just ask you, when you said there that the Supreme Council now had been formed,
Reinstated, yeah.
Reinstated.
Yes.
What does that mean? What happened?
Well, the Supreme Council, at all material times, was the governing body of the IRB.
Yes.
To really function within its power, it needed to be through the Supreme Council.
Yes.
So, thankfully, on Billy's wishes, we managed to re-elect the Supreme Council, and so
Right.
therefore now we can get busy. I mean, once the new constitution is ratified,
Okay.
between the majority vote of the Supreme Council, well, then that will be the mandate for
Yes.
going forward to address all these issues and go forward and fight for the sovereignty of the Irish people.
So in other words, it gives the legal rubber stamp.
It does indeed.
Yes. Okay,
absolutely.
I get you.
There's
Yes.
always been a constitution of the IRB.
Yes.
And obviously the constitution needs to be updated to reflect
Yeah.
current issues.
Yes.
And once that is done and put in place, well then
Yeah.
that's the lawful foundation
Right.
going forward, really, to act.
One thing I just wanted to ask you, John, was this. There are new members coming into the IRB. Is that right? That's what you will engage with?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's open to everybody. The fundamental principle for coming on board.
Well, can I
is,
say something?